Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 8th day of February, 2022. It is Tuesday of the 5th week in Ordinary Time, coming to you from the backside of the church building. And if you could see way up top on the cross, on top of the lantern, I believe that there's a turkey vulture, because they like to roost up there. So we have hawks, we have all kinds of flying winged creatures on this campus, and the turkey vulture, a creation of God, still is also one of them too up there. So he's or she is sunning themselves or drying themselves out, probably because of the wet weather that we had the last couple of days. On this Tuesday of the 5th week in Ordinary Time, we continue again Solomon's dedication of the temple, in which now Solomon gives kind of a justification for having built the temple. Again, God said to David, "Don't build me a temple. Take care of the poor and the sick and the alien and the widowed and everyone else that needs help. I don't need a temple." But Solomon goes ahead and builds one, and now he says it is built so that, again, the presence of God may be with the people, the Israelites themselves. And because of that presence, healing and hope and identity and all those kinds of things that will go into making Israel truly a nation can now be experienced through the presence of God that will reside in this temple. So again, Solomon trying to give the justification, which again God blesses in the creation of the temple. This temple will be destroyed again when the Babylonians take over Israel in the 500 BCs, I think it is, and then it will be rebuilt and then destroyed again when the Romans take over Israel in the 70s AD of the Common Era. So again, it is a temple that serves its purpose for a while, but again, it is a temple that was built to emphasize the reality that God does not reside in the heavens, but that God resides with the people that God has chosen to be God's own. In the gospel, again, we get this great back and forth between the Pharisees and Jesus about what is the best way to live the life of a child of God as one of the chosen. And for the Pharisees, it is following a myriad of rules and regulations that the Pharisees had set up so that Israel could be kept in line and could march in lockstep to what it is the Pharisees and the scribes had desired Israel to do, maybe in many ways to reinforce their own power, to reinforce their own authority. And Jesus basically says it isn't about that. And you think of all of these great rules and regulations as honoring God, and they don't. Which again gives great rise again to the questions of ourselves. And again, it's like, how do we live our lives as believers in this world? Are we living our lives as believers basically weighed down and burdened by a bunch of rules and regulations, by a bunch of authorities, by a bunch of do's and don'ts? Or do we live our life as believers in this world expressing joy, expressing wonder, expressing the great reality that to be alive and to enjoy the benefits of this life that we live, to enjoy creation itself, is why God has made us who and what we are. It isn't about the rules and regulations. It isn't about all of the codes. It isn't all about what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. It is just about living and embracing life itself and making ways so that others may be able to do the same. In many ways, sometimes what people often run into conflict with is that, again, the God that they have created for themselves does not deliver as they think this God should. And the question is not about whether or not God is delivering or God is not delivering on what God promises, but maybe it's our image of God that is not delivering. And that has to change, because these images of God that we create for ourselves, because we are too afraid to embrace the wonder and the joy of who and what God is, in many ways make God powerless in our lives and make our witness to this world powerless and stop the reign of God from unfolding in our midst. To embrace life, to embrace the joys of this life, to embrace what life has to offer, and know that God walks with us always through it, is why we have been created. And that is the greatest witness we can give. And may the Lord give you his peace.